Welcome to the Accessible Learning Experience, where we help you turn learning barriers into learning opportunities. On this episode, we welcome the CITES Framework Development District partners, Janna, Greathouse, and Samantha Reid with Jenks Public Schools, and Bijul Dalal with Grossmont Union High School District in California. Janna and Bijul serve as their district's assistive technology lead, while Samantha Reid serves her district as the EdTech lead. These professionals and their teams work with the Center on Inclusive Technology and Education Systems, better known as CITES, to try out evidence-based practices to discover what works when building inclusive technology systems. In their conversation, Maggie Pickett, Senior Technical Assistant Specialist and Project Director with CITES, talks with Janna, Samantha, and Bijul to pull back the curtain and share their stories about what worked to build and sustain inclusive technology ecosystems in their district. Here is their conversation.
What an honor it is to elevate these stories today with such amazing professionals. This episode is actually 4 years in the making as the work of Bijul, Janna, and Samantha have journeyed through to build inclusive technology ecosystems in their districts. This work started back in the winter of 2019. These professionals and their teams, along with 5 other districts, were courageous enough to buy into this concept that district technology systems should serve all students, including students with disabilities who require assistive technology or accessible educational materials. Little did we know that 1 month into this journey that there would be a global pandemic. But nevertheless, these folks persisted, and here we are today sharing their journey. So let's get to it. So I think we've all learned over the past few years that leadership is key. So let's start there. Bijul, your team has worked to curate a shared vision around inclusive technology. How has this changed the way you work?
Creating a shared vision, it really brought our institution together. So I do work for a school district, it's Grossmont, and typically we operate in silos. The assistive technology department is housed within the special ed department, and then separately we have an instructional technology department. And together, our 3 departments came together and we literally picked apart and analyzed our district's vision, and that what we came up with, that was presented to the board, and it was ultimately approved. And so what was really great was it was very process oriented, and it also was inclusive. So it included all of us through that process. I would also say that creating a shared vision has also helped our entire district level up technology skills to provide information, engagement, and assessments in multimodalities. Specifically, many gen ed teachers didn't know the connection between assistive technology and ubiquitous tools such as voice typing. Sort of what starts off as assistive technology, after maybe 5 years or 10 years, sort of becomes ubiquitous. Voice typing used to be drag and dictate. We buy it individually for kids, and now everybody has access to it. So in many ways, assistive technology is sort of on the cutting edge of technology, even though it's individual. So what it allowed us to do was kind of spread that technology and make it available to all students. And more than anything, creating a shared vision really helped me work collaboratively with my colleagues. What we really recognized was that we really like working with one another. As we are in an institution, we do operate in very distinct lanes or silos, but the process has helped us build relationships, which has led to effective collaboration. Creating a shared vision, we were able to shift the culture and empathetic to include all student needs and not just some student needs. So when we analyzed our vision that we had for a district, we did tweak it, we made some changes, made it relevant for today. We made it inclusive to include all students, not just some students.
Oh, great. So let's take that a step further. Janna, when you're thinking about the need to build a shared mindset around inclusive technology practices, did everyone on your team already have that mindset established, or were there opportunities for growth?
Establishing a shared mindset of inclusion was very important. With any systems change, it's important that the arrows are all pointing in the same direction so that our efforts don't contradict one another. And with this shared mindset, each stakeholder in overlapping conversations with their different groups, they can then share what's happening with our work, as well as communicate back to the leadership team what is happening throughout the district and the community so that we might better align our efforts with what's already happening. The awareness component is very important.
So it feels like developing that shared mindset occurred during that self-evaluation process, this discussion opportunity. The self-assessments are a key in another way too. Samantha, your team was very open about your district not having a working technology plan. So how did the work with CITES, the Center on Inclusive Technology and Education Systems, help your team to envision and build this technology plan? And what's different about the way the district operates now with the plan than before?
When we first started with the CITES process, we didn't really understand the whole scope of the project, the grant, what we were really, the full scale of everything we were tasked to do. So we really just had to trust the process. CITES was telling us each step that what we needed to do. And so we just started with the self-assessment. We started on the leadership. And so when we, as a team, started to go through that leadership self-assessment, a lot of the first questions were all about your technology plan. And we were like, well, we just don't have a technology plan. As a team, we kind of, as the ed tech team anyways, we kind of knew what we were doing. We were doing a lot of the things listed, but we just didn't have it written down anywhere. So a couple of us on the team kind of sat together. We did some research. We read our state tech plan, the national tech plan. We looked at different ed tech plans throughout the country. And we were just looking at, well, what do we really want our ed tech plan to do for us? We didn't want it to be some 80-page document that nobody ever looked at, that just there to say we had it. We didn't want it just to be a box that we checked off. We really wanted it to be something that we used to guide everything that we did, something that was actually a living document that we checked, that we updated. It wasn't like, okay, this is our 3-year plan. No, it's like, it's something that gets updated every single month. It's not just nothing to be printed out. It all lives in Google Drive. We started with that. We started after we finished the self-assessment. We picked the areas that we felt we needed to improve on, or the ones that we wanted to improve on first. And we wrote our goals. And that became the basis of our tech plan. So after each self-assessment, we would write a goal, and then that would become our tech plan. So each of the areas of the tech plan then coincided with the CITES headers for each. We had our leadership, then we had teaching and learning and assessment and infrastructure and family involvement. So those were our sections. And as we continue to go through them, we link all of our documents as we meet. So it's a living, breathing document that everybody has access to and they can look up at any time. And then as far as how we operate differently, anytime we're looking at things, we look at our tech plan and where does this fit in? Does this align with our goals for our district? Does it meet the accessibility standards that we've set for use in our district? So everything that we do has to line up with our technology plan and our goals. And if it doesn't, then that's just, we don't go that direction. So everything has to be aligned.
Setting a foundation for leadership is key, but eventually we've got to get this stuff into the hands of educators. So Samantha, as an ed tech coordinator for your district, how are you helping educators build their inclusive technology toolkit?
Some of the same things that we've kind of mentioned, with our tech tips, we have those available. We have a knowledge base in our district. So every time I do a tech tip, that gets added to the knowledge base. And then those tech tips get added to problems. So like if a teacher's submitting a ticket for something, some of those knowledge base articles will be tagged as, hey, this is something that you can do. So we have that. Again, those one-pagers that we sent out, we have a Canvas course. So all of the resources available in the curriculum are linked in that Canvas course, which every teacher in our district is in. So they have access to them there. We have some of those accessibility features built into our curriculum pieces that are right there on the Canvas course for teachers to look up, download. We're a Google district, so we, everything is in a Google Doc, so it's constantly updated. ClassLink, we have all of our announcements that we send out through there. Again, it's all linked into a Google Doc. we're just slowly trying to give them those tools. And through all of our PD that we offer, every class that we do on any topic, we incorporate accessibility just as a norm, just becoming part of our speech and technology now. So, if we're teaching teachers how to create a homepage on their Canvas course, we show them where to click on that little accessibility checker. It's just part of our vocabulary now in our department. And so we're continuing to work on that. And then again, our CITES team is spread throughout the district. So there's several CITES members at each campus, and then they continue to have those conversations as well. So it's a slow process in a large district, but I really feel like we've made huge headways. Also just getting, we've met with the Board of Education, we've met with our leadership team, and everybody's on board with the work that we're doing here. Principals meetings, they're all aware of the work that we're doing, and they're looking for those things. And we're starting to get to the point of, they're asking their teachers, about accessibility. So it's a process. I'm really excited on how far we've come in the 3 years that we've worked with the CITES team, but we still have work to do.
Such a robust approach. So with so many products and resources available, how are you ensuring that families and educators have clarity on what tools are available for use within the district? We
use the WCAG standards, the accessibility guidelines. We look at that, and they have a rating scale, which is, A, AA, and AAA. We don't even look. So the first thing we look up is, what are the accessibility standards? What's their rating for any tool that we're going to adopt? And they have to be at least a AA standard before we'll adopt them. After that, we dig a little deeper and we say, okay, well, these are the screen readers that our kids use. So does it work with a screen reader? These are some of the other tools. The communication device that a student uses, does it work with this communication device? So we kind of look at some of those tools as far as, does it have closed caption in all the videos? Does it have? So we're looking for specific things to make sure that it's accessible. And if it's not, then we don't even consider as an adoption for that particular tool. We've done several things to ensure that families and educators have clarity on what's available. I will tell you, this is still a work in progress. I don't feel like we're there yet with everybody knowing everything, but we're a lot closer than where we were. So some of the things that we're doing is we do a tech tip of the week every Tuesday. It's not always on accessibility, but it's on different tools that we have available, how to do different things, how to encourage our students to use different tools. One week was just on closed captioning. How do you turn on closed captioning if you're watching YouTube, if you're using Edpuzzle, if you're using any kind of video? How can you turn on live captioning in your slideshows if you're doing a presentation? So we do stuff like that for our tech tips of the week. And how do you run the accessibility checker in Canvas, which is our learning management system? So just doing tips on how to use those things, and just highlighting the importance of the fact that accessibility is not just for special needs students. It's really for all students. And we talk about how these tools can really help every student. It doesn't, you might have a headache one day and not want to read your screen, and you want to use a screen reader. You may struggle with trying to type your thoughts. Your brain might work faster than your fingers. So why not use your voice to type, and then you go back and edit? Like, these tools that we have available really can benefit any student. And it's not just a special ed thing. So really trying to spread that message across. We've created for all of our adopted curriculum, we've created a one-page guidelines of all the accessibility tools that are available in our district adopted software. So like this coming up year, we're adopting ELA. So we'll take all the textbooks as we start getting them, and we'll build. These are built-in accessibility features that you should just be using on a regular basis. So really educating our teachers that way. We also do student spotlights. We do social media posts. We do district tech tips through our district newsletter that goes out monthly. We have lunch and learn times once a month where teachers can come in and ask any questions. So really just lots of, as many ways as we can think of to spread the word. Our next venture is really working on the family involvement piece. So we actually have an appointment set up next week with our PTA, our parent groups. So we're going to now start working with our parent groups to make sure that our parents understand the tools that are available for their students to use. And so we're going to start there. We're going to look for recommendations, have those conversations about how can we as a district be more accessible and how can we communicate the things that we have available for students better to families. So we're really looking to partner with our families to continue the work and the process. So that's our next goal and our tech plan, which brings us, full circle back to the first question.
Bijul, you all took a different approach at Grossmont Union High School District. Describe your SPED tech team and how it provides development for staff. How did you decide what important knowledge and skills for educators in your district, what skills they need to have?
So in terms of professional development, our assistive technology department, we meet directly with students and we push into classes. So we really have a sort of boots on the ground perspective. We also provide training to support staff and teachers throughout the year at in-services. But this year, because of the enormous teacher shortage, we do a road show. So instead of the teachers coming to us to learn about professional development and assistive technology, what we do is we meet with teachers on their site during their prep periods. So essentially what we'll do is we'll go to a school site and we have teachers sign up on their prep period and we teach them either what we think they need to know or what they would like to know to support students in their classroom. We have professional development that is live. It's in person. We also do professional development over Zoom, and we do hybrid for varying times and lengths and content. So we really try to keep professional development as flexible and just in time for teacher schedules as needed.
So within this context, how are you supporting students with more complex learning support needs?
The way that our district supports students with complex learning needs is really, really dynamic. I mean, this is something I'm really, really excited about. I would honestly say our district is on the cutting edge of supporting students with complex needs. We have one of the highest refugee populations in the entire state of California. We also are a preferred district for students with disabilities who come from military families, and we have a number of Title I schools. What I'm trying to say with all of this is that we have a very high needs population. That said, we use eye gaze technology for students. For example, there's one student that comes to mind. His name is Yonan. He was an Iraqi refugee. He had systematically been excluded from school his entire life. He never went to school in his home country, never went to school in a refugee camp. He landed in our district, and the teachers could see he had so much more to say and express. And through a really long process, I would say approximately 18 months, we were able to get an eye gaze system for him. And I kid you not, he appears at the high school's talent show. And what he does is he tells jokes. He's in gen ed classes. He absorbs information. I think one of the most phenomenal things is he uses his eye gaze equipment to teach his parents English because his parents only speak Arabic. And that's just one example. We also have students like Joseph comes to mind who uses a switch to activate a camera so that way he can participate in the photography class. So he uses his switch to take pictures. We also have students like Layla comes to mind. She uses her switch to turn on a hose so she can water the garden. And these are just some small ways that students with complex needs are supported in the classroom. But we also have students who they will use an AAC device or some sort of communication device in order to communicate more than just their needs and wants, because it can't start and stop there. But they are able to communicate and have conversations with others, or make preferences, or take turns, or tell each other jokes and be conversational. Our district is a high school district, so that social element, no matter who the student is entirely important. It amazes me. We had one student, I remember, AJ, he had a very specific laptop with his needs on it. And 3 times in 1 year, he ran over his own laptop cord and severed it. And one of my colleagues made the comment and said, that's AJ. He's hanging out with his friends between classes, and then he's trying to motorize as fast as he can to his class. And of course, he's going to run over his cord. And it was like something you would imagine any typical student doing. They're hanging out with their friends, and then of course they're running to class when they hear the bell rings. AJ was no different. His cord just got in the way. So those are just a few ways that we support students with complex learning needs. I would also say that we really strive to support students in their least restrictive environment. So even if a student has a complex learning need, they are in dance or photography or the PE in some way that shows integrity to the class, not in a way that is token. And what we do is we try to find the technology and adapt it to meet the needs of the student.
All right, let's talk assessment for a minute. Janna, your team knew that you had some connections to make in order to get a full understanding of how assessment operated within your district. So how did you go about gaining a person on your team that brings that perspective around high-stakes assessments, but also formative assessments?
So to get a full understanding of the work in the district that related to assessment, we definitely have to make some connections. And when we were first introduced to the self-assessment related to inclusive practices in assessment, we were embarking on testing season. And so our assessment coordinator was, as you might imagine, very busy. We did invite her director to meet with us at that time. And she was able to help us feel better informed when it came to scoring our self-assessment. But most recently, our assessment coordinator accepted an invitation to participate on our team beginning in the fall. I will say that that my path and the path of the assessment coordinator, our paths have crossed much more frequently this school year than any other school year, particularly because we are collaborating more on test accommodations and universal supports. And I attribute that collaborative growth almost entirely to our work with CITES. We have, I think, recognized the roles that we play and the importance of our roles and the importance of working together to make sure that our students are accommodated appropriately when it comes to testing.
The concept behind continuous improvement is that we're always using data to consider how we can improve our efforts, right? So Janna, how are you attempting to further a culture of inclusion and acceptance for students with disabilities in your district?
In attempting to build a culture of inclusion and acceptance for students with disabilities, we have partnered with our communications team to plan regularly scheduled social media posts. And these posts are highlighting some of our students who rely on technology resources to participate in school, either academically, socially, or both. We have currently only had one student story go out, but we have many students on deck who are ready to share their stories as well. One of the other things that we're doing to build this culture of inclusion and acceptance is to provide training to our general education teachers on tools that we have available in the district that historically maybe have only been offered to our students with disabilities or to our language learners. And so far, the response has been tremendous. Our general educators, I think, have been looking for things like this that they can provide to all of their learners to just help better support them in their classroom and in their academics.
We are thrilled you all could share time and space to help us elevate these stories today. So if you're listening and thinking, wow, I want to know more about these teams and what they've done, their journeys, we've got you covered. So both Jenks Public Schools and Grossmont Union High School District have their own stories highlighted on our website, cites.cast.org. On these pages, you'll find images of the beautiful people, audio clips from our interview, resources, including Jenks' technology plan, and more. Links to these stories can be found in the show notes, and while you're there, be sure to check out the rest of the website, which is the CITES Framework. The self-assessments these folks have talked about that helped guide their work, as well as guides, are there to help you get started on your journey. And they're all available to you for free. So we hope to see you over there. And remember, the future is inclusive.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Accessible Learning Experience, brought to you by the National Center on Accessible Educational Materials at CAST. You can find us on the web at aem.cast.org. There you'll find show notes with links to all of the resources mentioned on each episode. Thanks again for listening, and remember, accessibility is everyone's responsibility. The contents of this podcast were developed under a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Education. However, those contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government.